I've received a lot of comments about the situation surrounding Universal Credit and other authorities, even people like the council, asking for your bank statements and what to do when you don't want to give them the actual bank statements. Now, we all know the reasons why they're asking for the bank statements. They're saying it's because of a universal credit review. I don't think that's the case, because technically a universal credit review can only come about if there is a change of circumstances that you've declared. And I'm fully aware of all of the different reasons that you've been given, multiple different reasons by different work coaches and different job centres. But what trumps DWP policy is data protection and GDPR law. Now, I need to be very clear here. If you are asked to provide your bank statements, you must comply, but there is a way of doing so. If you don't want to hand over your entire transactional data, which is what you actually spend your money on. And the difference between those options are cooperation, even, and coercion. And I'm going to break down what that means and how you can use these two very crucial facts and elements when you're dealing with DWP. Now, despite what guidance is being printed out, like I said, and reeled off at you by DWP guidance is not always law. And I don't think, in my opinion, in this case that it is, because under UK GDPR and the Data Protection Act, which trumps anybody's guidance, consent must be freely given. So if you do not agree to be giving your bank statements, and instead you are told or threatened that if you do not, your benefit is going to end, then that is coercion. Now, that's not my opinion. That is what is called as black letter law. And if anyone's under any disillusion over what consent actually is, consent must be freely given, not forced into or threatened by something. It must be specific. So just saying, oh, we just want to check your bank statements to make sure you don't have any undeclared monies, that's not being specific. Informed is also very important, and of course, unambiguous. So saying everybody is undergoing a universal credit review at the moment is being unambiguous, because we're talking about your personal data here. And to be brutally clear, if consent is being obtained under threat, then it is no longer being given freely. Now, DWP can, of course, lawfully request information to verify your entitlement, but that surrounds claims and statements of capital and income, not what you spend your money on. Now, this is where DWP, in my opinion, are crossing the line, saying that we need information to verify entitlement in a loose format is potentially lawful unless they say, and it appears from what you're all telling me in the comments, they say, if you don't give your full unredacted, so that's everything not blanked out, transaction histories, your claim will be stopped. At that point, that is coercion. Now, the reason why this matters in regard to GDPR and data protection is that bank statements contain highly sensitive personal data about you, your choices, your beliefs, and other demographics and characteristics of your life, which can be, for a lot of people, protected by law. So spending habits can also lead to identify your medical payments. If you have a disability, that could be protected under the Disability Discrimination Act. Religious donations, again, family support, Maybe you have a certain sexual preference, and maybe you're, for example, a subscriber to an online gay community. That would also become under a protected category. We call it category A protection as far as GDPR is concerned. Now, if you're asked for these bank statements and you don't want to give over all of your data, there is a process. And linked somewhere here and down below, there is going to be my entire pack, which is called the Data Toolkit. It's got lots of different letters in there, letter templates that you can use if you don't want to write the letters out yourself. It's also got a complete fact sheet walking you through the different elements of what I'm saying here and a little bit more step by step. But firstly, as I said, do not ignore the requests. They're not going to go away, and you do have to be compliant, but I'm going to suggest a way that you can be compliant while still protecting your rights. Number one, ask for the legal basis of why they're requesting that specific data from you. And do this in writing. Please do not do it over the phone. Do not do it face to face. You need to do it in writing, which is why I created the letters, so that you can provide evidence of what you said and when you said it. It produces a clear data trail. So please confirm the statutory basis and the necessity of this request. The reason why you're doing that is because you're pushing back on them to make them actually evidence why they are requesting this information, so that their requests can then be weighed up against the fact of whether it is fair and proportionate. Because blanketly just asking for your data without that necessity and that real basis is going to, for the majority of people, completely disprove the fact that it is not required, it is not fair, and it is not proportionate. The second point to make in your letter is this eligibility for the eligibility verification for your claim, or is it a fraud investigation? Now, if you're under fraud investigation and you are being interviewed and they are requesting information from you, they do actually need to inform you, and they need to tell you when that investigation or that monitoring started and how long the investigation is likely to run for. And then they have to confirm what specific data is required and why. Now, I know for a lot of you, this is going to be like so obvious. And if you've been watching lots of my videos, you're going to be going, but Ali, I think you might have mentioned that before. But some people are getting so overcome with the fear factor, and it is disgusting, in my humble opinion, that vulnerable people are really having their own data weaponized against them in this way. Because after working in that organisation, I don't consider that it is fair and proportionate for every single person to give their bank statements and then have an entire 1 hour long cross-examination of what they spent £3.40 at Co-op, for example. I think it is completely irrelevant to the claim of a universal credit claim. And the icing on the cake is to put this little line in. Please confirm whether refusal to provide transaction level data alone would result in suspension. In the nicest way possible, you're going to be walking the Department of Work and Pensions into their lies. Not necessarily, I'm not saying that they're lies, but it's a term that we use because the ICO have already stated, the Information Commission's Office in London have already stated that providing transactional data is actually a breach of your privacy. So if they're going to confirm in writing that they can request this transactional data, then you would have potentially legal recourse to do something about it. And I want to leave you all with this, because I know lots of people feel vulnerable and threatened when they're on benefits. Now, in the UK, consent in data protection law is not about fear. It is not about coercion, it's about choice. So if you feel you're being forced into handing over that level of data that you do not feel happy and comfortable about, you don't have to do it. This is, of course, different from informing them of a change of circumstance. You must inform them of changes of circumstances, you must inform them of capital, and you must inform them of income and changes of income. But what you spend your money on, once declared to them, is nobody else's business but your own. Now, as I said, I have a complete pack available for people to download and use, the letters, the fact sheets and everything else. You don't have to use them, but of course it makes everything a lot easier. So if you are going to challenge this, please challenge it in writing, write the letters, ask for a document upload on your universal credit account and upload the letter. Also, copy and paste the letter once you've added your little bits and bobs into it, into your journal, and take a screenshot of that and keep it. Do not ignore the requests, stay compliant and make sure you keep a clear data trail. Let me know if this has been helpful, what sort of things you're being asked for now, and if they're accepting your letters and what you're doing if they don't. Let me know in the comments.